Hello folks, welcome back to Reality Check with Arvind Swaminathan. Today we're going to have little bits on 4 or 5 different topics, things that have happened recently, things that have happened, been going on for quite a while. Now first, welcome news. You remember about a year ago we made a video on the Islamic Republic of India, which concerned the Waqf Act 1995. Well, I'm happy to say that it was actually introduced into Rajya Sabha last week. And from the news day before yesterday, it was passed in the Rajya Sabha by I think 53 votes to 34 and 32 against. All it needs now is the signature of the President of India on that bill. It becomes Act. And the Waqf Act 1995 will stand repealed. The only thing with it is something else. They've got about 840 or 850,000 hectares or acres, I'm not sure which one, under their control now. All that must return to the previous owners. Not only that, they must also return whatever expenditure those people have incurred in looking for alternative accommodation, livelihood and things like this, with interest, because the Waqf Board has put them to a great deal of discomfort thanks to this act. And if the Waqf Board wants, the Congress party should be made to pay this, because they're the ones who brought in this act. 1995. The other thing that must be repealed also is the Places of Worship Act 1991, because that is causing a great deal of problems. This particular Waqf Act 1995 even superseded the Places of Worship Act. That is why you get these people who claim the land on which Somnath Temple stands. And now they're also claiming the land, or the Krishna birthplace land. I mean, there are limits, but these guys don't seem to know any such things. There are no borders to their limits. Anyway, that's one piece of good news. Not that I take credit for it, no. There are certain legal people who've been taking action in the Supreme Court, filing PILs and so on. I know one of them. I don't know him personally, but he's, I think, Mr. Ashwini Upadhyay. Anyway, I'm glad he's taken it up. The other thing is the ruckus in Parliament, Lok Sabha. People wandering in and letting off smoke bombs. Now, the opposition parties are making such a ruckus, making such a noise over it, that one wonders, are these people fit to be members of Parliament? Do they even belong there? Because again, their sole intention seems to be to ensure that Parliament does not or cannot enact any business. Every session almost has created these problems, and invariably they want action. Based on what? Both the Home Minister and Prime Minister have maintained a very dignified silence on this, which is exactly what they should have done. Why do I say that? What can they say? What statement can they make? Nothing. An inquiry has been instituted to find out what was the reason, who was behind it. Because at first, from what we can see, people from UP, from West Bengal, from Bihar, Haryana, Maharashtra, they're all involved. Which means it's a very, very big plot or conspiracy. It's not just 5 or 6 people making a statement on their own. And the investigating agencies must get through to the bottom of it. Submit their report. Only then can the Prime Minister or the Home Minister make any statement whatsoever. So why are they making such a rumpus? Instead of just demanding an inquiry, okay, that has been set up. Now let them do their job. Until that happens, shut up. Otherwise, get out of Parliament. You don't belong there. There are many other things that need to be done. Let the government do it. Another thing, recently most of your TV channels have been flooded with this advertisement. The Punjab government, instead of people wasting their time in government offices, the government offices will now come to your home. Very good, if he really means what he says. Why? Well, it saves a lot of time. But while these people are visiting you in your homes, who's looking after government business in the office? One. Two, this reminds me of something that used to happen in the 1990s, in the early 2000s. You know, the income tax people would send you a demand draft for a refund. And the guy would bring it to your doorstep the day before the final date on the draft or check. And say, look, I'm bringing it to you as a favor. If it says 10,000 rupee refund, give me 1,000 or 10% and I'll give it to you now. Otherwise, I'll take it back to the office. They will send it to you on Monday. By the time it reaches you, the date will be over. You will then have to take it back for revalidation and they will charge you 20%. So, pay up or else. And this I know from personal experience. I didn't have any money. It was a weekend. I had 100 rupees in my pocket. The guy took it and gave me the draft and went away, leaving me totally broke for the weekend. Now, is this another method for extorting money? Is it? Well, it used to be then. But then you could say this was Congress Raj. Today it's different. Well, it doesn't look like it, does it? When you see the scams the Aam Aadmi Party has been involved in, Liquorgate and a few others, what does it mean? Now, you have a look at some of these things and you find corruption at every stage. And this has been going on for 50 or 60 years. This BJP government is trying to stomp it out. But first they've got to find out what is it, where is it, and how does it work. It's only then that they can try and do something about it. But they must have the cooperation of the public. Without that, they can't get anywhere. And as I've said before, it requires a lot of time. Because just to find out what's wrong and what needs change, especially when things have been going on for 5 or 6 or 7 decades, trust me, it takes some finding out. This Waqf Act, for instance, 1995. It was passed in 1995, it's been in operation since, and nobody's done anything about it. It's only when they themselves got involved, they found out what is all about it, that now action has been taken. Which, to my mind, is impressive. At least they've done something, or corrected a very, very wrong act. One other small thing, well, you may think it's small, Arab-Israeli conflict. Now you see, first Netanyahu tells people in northern Gaza, move to the south. We're going to bomb. Fine, they move to the south. Now he says, move out of the south. Where to? Into Egypt? Egypt has said, no way, you're not coming into Egypt. And I've said this in my previous videos. No Arab country or Muslim country takes in Muslim refugees. Why? Now Netanyahu has come out in the open and said, we do not want peace, we're going to bomb them out of existence. You see, already about 19 or 20,000 Palestinians are dead in Gaza, of whom 1/3 are children, 1/3 are women, and who are the others? What remains? And then he has proved one thing, that he is Hitler and he is a Nazi. Let's get that straight. Nobody else would have the courage or the mental madness to do this. Also coming out in the news these days is the fact that Netanyahu himself personally got agencies to transfer funds to Hamas. You remember, Sharon was one of those who created Hamas in the late 70s, early 80s. Now, Netanyahu claims, I'm going to bomb them out of existence. That is the excuse for bombing Palestinians out of Gaza. Who are Hamas? Shadowy figures? Do they even exist? And they claim they found so many 100 kilometers worth of tunnels. Does that not tell you something? You remember World War II, all those movies tell us, every time you had a POW camp, how did they get out? They dug tunnels. They're doing it here. That should tell you that Gaza has been one prison camp for over 50 years. In fact, the whole of Palestine was taken over in 1967. Well, 1948, but enforcedly taken over in 1967. Ethnic cleansing has been carried out. You won't find any Palestinians and Israelis mixing. No, it's total apartheid. You know the man who wrote the book, I think the General's Son, he said he'd never met a Palestinian and he was born and brought up in Israel. The first time he met a Palestinian was in Los Angeles, in the US. He didn't know what they looked like. He didn't know what kind of people they were. Now you see that, and Netanyahu has come out with one more statement, which is even more telling. He said he will not allow the state of Palestine. What? I explained this earlier. You see, anything Israel does, no matter how horrendous it is, state security, because there is a state. But Palestine is not to be permitted. Why? Because then they can claim it is state security. Now they can't. Now it is classed as terrorism. There you have it. Now, there's one other little piece of news. You know this American, how shall I put it, horror that an American citizen is being targeted by, of all people, the government of India. You know this Pannoon character? Khalistani, who has threatened Air India and so on with bombing and this and that all over India. Now the Americans protect such a person and we haven't even said anything. Which means Canada and the US are working in tandem. Thanks to somebody called Niger gets murdered and they blame the government of India. Wow, great fun. And the Americans are famous for false flags. Here's another one. You want a list of Americans' transgressions? Okay. 1953, Mossadegh in Iran, elected Prime Minister. They got rid of him. It is known, they admitted it. 1960, Patrice Lumumba, elected Prime Minister of the erstwhile Belgian Congo, which had just become independent, and replaced him with their, how shall I put it, CIA asset, Colonel Mobutu, who was there for 20 or 30 years, allowing the US to loot and plunder the Congo's natural resources. No? You want more? How about Salvatore Allende, 1971, Chile, elected President of Chile, replaced by Pinochet, the army monster. Need more? How about Vietnam? The South Vietnamese president, who was a CIA asset, suddenly decided he was going to do something for the Vietnamese people. Had him assassinated and replaced by another one, who was too frightened to do anything except what the Americans wanted him to do. How about 2014, the coup in Ukraine, where a pro-Russian president was ousted and replaced by a pro-American one. And the Americans have the cheek to come to India and blame India? We have no such record. We do not do such things. That is why they sit in places like America or Canada and start doing things against India. You remember the Kanishk bombing, the Air India flight from Canada which blew up just offshore in Ireland? They know who was behind it, and the Canadian government did nothing. Now, Pannu is known to have contacts in Pakistan. He is known to have been to Pakistan. He still makes stupid statements all over the place, how he threatens India and Air India and so on. And still the American government protects him and says, oh, he's under attack, he's under threat. Come on, America, wake up, get real. America is the one who keeps talking the USA is the one who keeps screaming about human rights all over the world. What about Palestinians? They don't have human rights? They're not human, huh? Right now, what's happening to Palestinians? Isn't it exactly what the white man did to the American Indian? The American Indian refused to bow down and be a serf or servant of the white man. So you decimated him, turned him into non-entities, put him into little reservations, say you stay there. You're doing that to Palestinians, and now even in those reservations, you're not letting him stay. You're bombing Gaza, and you're helping Israel to do it. And more settlements, Jewish settlements in the West Bank. You're creating problems there. There's no Hamas activity there. So what are you doing there? Where are Palestinians supposed to go? Now this brings me back to something which most people don't seem to want to face up to. Muslims throughout the world are very militant people. Why? And most of it is because of people of European extract. Why? Because you do not allow Muslims to live peacefully in their own countries. And I'm talking about places like Palestine, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan, and also in Pakistan. You create wars all over the place. You create trouble and strife and problems. Iraq had done nothing to the US, yet you bombed them back to the Stone Age. The American CIA created ISIS. It is run by European and American volunteers. You have had a covert operation all over Syria going on for the last 12 years because you just want to continue to have your puppets in those places. You messed up Libya. Totally. Why? Because Libya was doing well. Their government was far better than anything you got in your own countries. You called Gaddafi a madman when he cared about his own people. You branded him as corrupt thanks to your Western media, which you seem to own and sort of orchestrate. What have we heard about Palestinians from Palestinians? Almost nothing. The media does a total blackout of news about Palestinian feelings. Palestinian, what have they done? And yet you keep killing them off by the thousand. You decide when they work. You decide if they work at all. You decide how much medicine they have, how much water, how much food they have, what they eat and so on. You expect them to remain in that prison all their lives, but generation after generation after generation. I've said this earlier. Every country in the world does not like the thought of a bunch of Europeans coming and settling in their countries. Why? See what they do. See what they did to North America, South America, and Central America. See what they did to Africa and the slave trade. See what they did to the African countries themselves when they settled there. They turned Africans into absolute slaves. They looted, pillaged, and plundered Africa, and they're still doing it. See what they did to Australia. What did they do to the Aborigine? The Maoris were strong enough, they were warlike enough to make you come to an understanding with them. What did they do to India? And what is now India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh? Myanmar, what have we done to them? Wherever you've gone, you've looted, pillaged, plundered. The entire wealth of Europe is based on loot from the colonies. And you talk about human rights? Human rights? Come on, let's get with it. Let's grow up a little. And you, the USA or United States of America, you should know better. When you do things like this, shut up about human rights. You don't have any such right to even talk about it. If you want to have that right, grow up and do something about it in your own, not just local policy or home policy, but also your foreign policy. Start repaying or making restitution to the people you've harmed for all these decades. Otherwise, don't talk about it. And as for China, China itself is a very small area. All the rest of it is conquered territory. And now you're trying to move into India. Well, I'm sorry, we don't like the idea very much. Yes, I am annoyed. I am very angry. Because what I see all over the world is not funny. It's not even a joke anymore. Because now what seems to be happening is an attempt at total annihilation of people and whole populations. It is called genocide, nothing else. And I don't like the idea very much. But the Americans would love it. It's what they've been trying to do for a long time. And so have certain families. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't have much to say about anything now. Let's see what else happens. Let's see what turns up. I wish people, leadership all over the world begins to wake up and see sense rather than this stupidity and ignorance that we've had to put up with for decades. Well, have a good think about what I've said today, because it's something we all must think about, and think about very hard. Have a cold hard look at ourselves and see, what are we? Where are we going? Are we even anywhere near the right track? Take care, find out, look into yourself, pass this on to other people and to your friends, relatives and groups. Let them also do some cold hard thinking. Bye.